Alright, hello and welcome everybody back to the video. I'm your SimCFI, which means I'm your flight instructor for any simulator purposes. You have questions on DCS, Microsoft, P3D, please leave a comment down below. I'll be sure to answer it. In saying that, I'm also a CRJ pilot, fly the CRJ 900, so if you have questions on the CRJ, you can leave a comment there as well, or how to become an airline pilot or pilot in general. I can answer questions on that as well. Today we'll be looking at Sayintentions. This is sponsored by Sayintentions. I do have a link down below if you'd like to purchase it. It does really help the channel out, so I appreciate it if you use the link there if you're going to purchase it anyways. And we'll be doing a full flight with all ATC from Los Angeles to San Francisco, operated with Delta 2267 with an A320. And yeah, so I hope you guys learn how to use ATC. This is for the newer simmers, and I hope it helps out. So sit back and thanks for watching. Alright guys, before we get into it, sorry for my terrible online PC writing. It's actually better than my handwriting anyways, which is sad. But either way, I just quickly wrote down, if you want to take a screenshot or write it out yourselves, the layered or the sequences of controllers you're going to go through. So not at every airport it's the exact same, but for the most part on most international airports, this is usually the sequence of events. So you'll contact clearance delivery for your IFR clearance. You'll then contact ground control frequency, which is either ground or some airports have an apron controller. You'll contact them before ground, but ground will cover pushback and taxis. If there's an apron at that airport, the apron will cover pushback and the ground will cover taxi. Tower is takeoff and landing clearance, so takeoff in this case. Departure gets you a little bit further down your route, and then they hand you off to center, which is during the basically the rest of the climb and the cruise and a little bit of the descent. And then you go from center to approach to tower, and tower to ground, and then maybe an apron if they have an apron controller as well. So I want you to think of a triangle or a little mountaintop or whatever, and at the top of the peak is the center controller. So down here you get, if I do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, let's just say. So down here you got clearance, you got him, then you get your taxi, then you get takeoff, then you get departure. Now you're up at the cruise, and you're with center, and there's different centers along your route. You have, Boston Center, New York Center, Cleveland Center. There's all these centers you'll be passing. So you'll be changing different frequencies, but they're all centers. Then when you get close enough, center's going to give you initial descent. Then they're going to pass you on to approach, and you start working down the line now. Then you're going to go back to tower, and then you're going to go to ground for taxi, and maybe an apron if there's an apron. Number 9 would be apron if there's an apron at the airport. So try to think of this peak. That's kind of every flight. You start at clearance, you work your way up to center, and then you work your way back down the list of stuff. So we'll get into the sim now, and I might recall this during the flying portion a bit. Again, sorry for the terrible handwriting, or PC writing. My handwriting's actually worse, believe it or not. So hope it helps though. Alright, so we're sitting here at the gate. Everything's pretty much loaded, ready to go. We're doing the Summer 2 departure with the stoked transition, and we're about to get our clearance to our initial departure clearance, our RFR clearance. So let's go ahead and get that. We're going to go ahead to the Sayintentions app, and I'd also make sure you have a notepad ready to go. Also, you can obviously read it and all here, but it's a good idea to start getting in the habit of writing these things down, so you can just, the goal is to get on the vatsim or use it for real stuff, which you can't read the clearance. So we'll go ahead and tune the clearance up by clicking it, move that over there, and what we're going to simply say is Los Angeles clearance. So who are we talking to? Delta 2267, who are we? And then you're going to tell me you have a certain weather code. So in this terms, it's the ATC that we have. And let me go and check that once again, because I have been sitting here for a little bit. It might have changed. So I'll click ATC. Information is Tango. Visibility is 10, sky solid, overcast 1700, good temperature. So nothing's really changed since I've been sitting here. We're expecting a 2-4 right departure. So Los Angeles clearance, or LA clearance, whatever you like. You can even just say clearance. Delta 2267 with information Tango, which tells the controller you have the up-to-date weather. And then what do you want? Requesting IFR clearance, San Francisco. That's it. Okay, so let's go ahead and ask for clearance, the same format I just gave you there. So let's get our notepad out. Clearance Delta 2267 Information Tango request IFR San Francisco. And when you wait for a response, probably 10 seconds, maybe 5 seconds from the AI to come back to you. Okay, so there we go. Okay, so I'm going to read it back. Summer 2, Stoke transition, 4,000 feet, and then the squawk code. Okay, Delta 2267, cleared San Francisco. Summer 2 departure, Stoke transition, 4,000 feet, squawk 6751. Delta 2267. He should come back with readback correct. Now, what's not happening, I think I have to restart this because I don't hear the message unless I have this window open. So why don't I just maybe move that over there, my other screen. So the important stuff to write down, let's talk about it. The summer 2 departure you filed. You know, well, unless they changed it, it should be summer 2 departure. So that should be information you already have. I wrote that wrong, but the Stoke transition, again, information you already have. The 4,000 feet is a weird thing I've been having in Sayintentions where it gives you 4,000 feet. I don't know why they do this. I'm going to have a chat because that's way too low. I mean, it has a departure SID for a reason. You can see that it's, if I turn the constraints on, below 3, below 5, right? The next one's below 12. So it's, usually they would just let you go on the departure. There is not that 4,000. But anyways, we'll set 4,000 because that's what we're cleared to at this case. 4 has been set. But the most important one here, what they're usually changing on you or adding to your flight plan here is a squawk code. And then the runway is, you might not know about the runway. So the squawk and the runway are usually the most important to write down if you're not going to write down anything else. And you're going to read back, clear to San Francisco, summer 2 departure, Stoke transition, 4,000 feet, squawk 6751, and that's pretty much everything else. You can add, maybe I would expect the runway and stuff, but there's nothing really much to add in there. You want to keep it short and sweet. Now, in some countries, you can actually just read back whatever's changed. So in this case, you can say 4,000, squawk 6751, Delta 2267. And that actually counts as a readback correct in some countries, illegally in real life. It's not smart to do that. It's good to give the whole thing so you make sure that you're both on the same page. Anyways, we've gotten our clearance. They want us squawking 6751. Let's go down here. Clear, 6751, and that's ready to go. We're going to go ahead and get GSX, which is our pushback function, is how I use it, up and operating for prepare for pushback. And our Delta Airlines. Our APU is already online. So we're going to turn off the external power. Get all fuel tanks on. We'll go ahead and get our beacon light on, seatbelt sign on. And we do not want to interrupt the pushback. So, awesome, good for you. Now, after the clearance call, we're going to contact ground. So ground is on the frequency, and again, I have that on my, if I can pull it down here. Come on, tool. You have this list of frequencies here. You can either dial 121.4, or you can just click it, and it tunes it for you, which is kind of nice. So CLR clearance is for departure clearance. Now we're going to GND, ground, for push and taxi clearance. Now some airports have apron controllers, and at those apron controllers is where you get the actual pushback clearance from. But in this case, we're going to contact ground. Right, and if you get the wrong frequency in real life or on vatsim, they'll just say contact this guy. Right, wrong frequency, contact this guy. It's not a big deal. So we're going to say LA ground, Delta 2267, ready for pushback. And in real life, I would add the gate number and the ATIS information. However, sometimes Sayintentions gets mixed up and thinks you want an ATIS readback. So just say call sign, or who you're talking to, call sign, and what you want, ready to pushback, or request pushback. Let's go ahead and give it a try. LA ground, Delta 2267, ready pushback. Okay, push approved tail east, so I'll go ahead and say that same thing what I just said there. Push approved tail east, Delta 2267. That's all you gotta say. Keep it nice and simple. So, if I put my nose to the left, my tail will be east. If I put my nose to the right, looking at this, I can go here for you, make it maybe a little easier. If I put the nose to the left, the tail swings east. If I put the nose to the right, the tail swings west. You want a tail east, which is kind of weird. But we'll go ahead and say nose to the left with the tail to the east.
Release parking brakes, please.
Alright, and everything else is good. We'll get the transponder down here to on. Parking brake off. Auto should work, actually. We'll leave it in auto. Vatsim, it doesn't like auto in North America, but we'll do auto. All engines are clear. We'll go ahead and go start. Should hear it get a little quieter. Hear that air? I don't know if you heard that air just kind of settle on down. We're going to go ahead and get the right engine started first here.
Ladies and gentlemen, please observe the cabin crew member closest to you as we are about to demonstrate the safety features of our Airbus A320 aircraft. Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome aboard our Airbus A320. Please pay attention to illuminated signs and crew instructions, including the following safety procedures. Found in your seat pocket contains important...
Please set parking brakes. Waiting your confirmation for a good engine start. Cockpit to ground. We have a good engine start. You can disconnect. Unlocking gear.
In an emergency, leave all baggage on board. Your seatbelt is fastened, adjusted...
I just told them to stop the pushback there because they were going to push me into the other side and GSX will mess up, so... Get the number 1 engine up, left side.
Air supply fails. Masks will drop from above you.
Okay, so what I recommend to do is, before you even got to this point, is look at the ground chart, where you're starting from, and think of ideas of where they would possibly give you taxiways to. So, I'm expecting 24 right still, or 25 right. We'll see what they give me. But if it's 25 right, most likely, looking out the window here,
Disconnected. Bypass pin removed.
either Charlie 9 or Charlie 10,
Left is clear.
Bravo all the way up. They could just give me Charlie all the way up, which is this guy here, for the most part, and that would satisfy that. If it's the 2-4s, they might give me Charlie, Kilo, and either Delta or Echo. So somewhere around those lines. So just kind of get a lay of the land, get used to where they can possibly be sending you, just so you're not completely surprised. So the engines are online. Let's go ahead and get the rest of the startup here. So again, this is not correct Airbus flows. I don't fly the Airbus.
Ground, Southwest 1008. Radio check.
They'd probably do a flight control check at this point as well. We're going to say that's, we'll say it's good. I'll do a nice Navy around the horn there. So we got our flaps on, auto brakes are max, speed burst, spoilers arm, flap 1, engines back to norm, APU is coming off. We're ready to get going here. So I'm just going to say ground, Delta 2267. So it's always going to start the same way, basically, just the name changes at the beginning. So who am I talking to? Who am I? What do I want? So LA ground, Delta 2267, that's who I am. What do I want? Ready for taxi, request taxi, whatever you want to say there. So let's go. LA ground, Delta 2267, request taxi. Get your notepad out. It's going to start pushing off a bunch of letters. I don't know if he heard me there. Oh, there he goes.
24 right via Charlie, Kilo, Echo, Romeo, cross runway 24 left at your discretion.
So Charlie, I kind of hit too many things there. Charlie, Kilo, Echo, Romeo, and then cross 24 left. We'll read it back to him. Okay, clear taxi, Charlie, Kilo, Echo, Romeo, cross 24 left, correction, Delta 2267. So you see how fast he says it, and I can bring the clearance down here for you to see. So 24 right via Charlie, Kilo, Echo, Romeo, cross 24 left at your discretion. That really doesn't make sense. It's either cleared across or you're not cleared across. But either way, you just write it down as you hear it, and that way it's easier. If it was short 24 left, my little trick is I put an S24 left like that. But just write Charlie, Kilo, Echo, Romeo, 24 left. If it's cleared across, I just consider it cleared across when I write it like that. That's it. So now we know where we're going, or we have at least the taxiway instructions, and because we're on Sayintentions, you can take as long as you want to figure it out. So Charlie, Kilo, it's what I pretty much guessed here, Echo, Romeo, cross 24 left, which is this one, and hold short of 24 right. Let's get going. Park and brake off. The airplane should start moving on its own power. Actually, these are CFMs. I don't know if they do that. No, IAEs do. So we'll give it a little bit of power here, a little bit of juice. Okay, so alongside of the moving map that you have, which says we're on Charlie right now, you can also use your Navigrapgh map, which is a portal outside the sim. You can also use your Navigrapgh map inside the sim with this tool right here. And obviously you also just have at your disposal the taxiway signs. So we got a black Charlie on the left, which means we're on Charlie. If we take this left turn, we'd be on Juliet, and left or right is Bravo, and that's what that sign would mean if we turned left right there. So we're looking for Kilo, which is the next right turn coming up. I'm going to add a little bit of brakes. We're going to take our turns 10 knots or below over these nice sharp turns. So we'll do just a nice steady brake, nothing crazy, and we'll just start slowing down. And we're going to take this right turn onto Kilo. So let's take the right turn here. Now I'm using rudders to taxi, which is kind of annoying. I do not have a tiller yet. A tiller is what controls the nose gear on the airplane. It's right here. You see it kind of moving. And on the ground, that's what we use to taxi the airplane on the ground. We don't use our feet like in smaller GA airplanes. However, I don't have one of those, so I'm limited to my rudder pedals, which acts as a tiller on the ground. Alright, so we've got auto brakes max, passenger signs are on, cabin's ready, spoilers armed, flaps are in the takeoff position, takeoff config, normal, predictive wind shear is off. Let's go ahead and grab that on. We got TCAS and company message. TCAS is traffic collision avoidance system. We'll turn that on once we get closer to the runway. I'll add a little bit of juice here. We get there a bit quicker than 7 knots. Let's go ahead and get rid of all those company messages by going to ATSU, AOC menu, receive messages. And I'm basically going to accept these load sheets here and make sure we're not going anywhere crazy outside. Kilo's kind of a weird taxiway, kind of just ends and goes back. And we'll get rid of all those company messages. Now I am using the Wing MCDU and the Wing EFIS and the Wing FCU and the Wing rudder pedals. So I'm kind of all winged out. The only things I'm not using wing wise is my keyboard and mouse. No, I'm joking. My stick is a Virpil. I got a Virpil Mongoose stick, and then I'm also using my Thrustmaster Warthog throttle. That's because I do a lot of DCS. So next thing is Echo. Coming up is the second right turn. So this turn here is a Delta, and the second one is Echo, and you can see that on this chart. Delta, Echo. We'll get back on that line. And that's what the left seat looks like. That's the right seat looks like. Clear left, clear right. Oh, I think my brake. Yeah, I gotta fix my. I gotta tighten or untighten some screws. My brake stays clicked when it shouldn't be clicked there. And we'll take this left-hand turn. Now we follow Kilo basically all the way down. I think it was second left from the end, and that was the Romeo taxiway. I'll bring it up here so you can see it while we look out the window. Give me a second so I can show you. The sim might freeze a little bit as I get it working here. There we are right there. Echo. And yeah, so third from the end. Basically, once you get to the threshold of 2-4 left, Romeo cleared across over to 2-4 right, and we're holding. So we're on with ground right now. We're going to go ahead and get tower on our secondary frequency. So tower frequency is 120.95. 120. Scroll this all the way to 95. And we're ready to go for when they say contact tower 120.950. We're all good to go. Give it a bit more juice here. Oh, I hit my flat button by accident there. We'll do another takeoff test. Config. Alrighty. So this sign coming up, still an Echo. That's Echo 8. Don't want that one. We want Romeo. So it's probably that one over there. And we're going to start slowing down for the turn. Little even braking together. So zoom into that sign. Left turn is Romeo. We're on Echo. So we're going to take this turn. And we're cleared across. We're clear to the right once we turn. And I believe this is an active runway as well. So we're going to go ahead and throw in our strobe lights while crossing. A little bit of juice to get across, and he may or may not, or it, I guess it's an AI, may or may not give us clearance or guide us to go to tower. You see in the States, they don't tell you to go to tower. So I'm not sure what Sayintentions will do, but I'm just going to go ahead and switch myself because I should be with tower now anyways. Okay, now what do? We got a new frequency up, which means we need a next one, which is departure, 124.3. And we're going to come up to that hold short line. And we're going to say tower, Delta 2267, holding short 24 right, ready for takeoff, something like that. Starts again, LA Tower, who we're talking to, who are we, Delta 2267, what do we want? So let's go ahead and give it a try. LA Tower, Delta 2267, ready for takeoff, short of 24 right. Turn my strobes back off. Arnav Fabra, clear takeoff, Delta 2267. So you want to read back that Arnav for what waypoint it is and cleared for takeoff as well. And if I didn't mention 24 right, you want to say 24 right as well. So let's go strobe lights on. Get every single light on. Christmas tree mode. TCAS TARA, which is traffic and resolution mode. We're clear for takeoff. We'll go and spool the N1 to 50 on the N on the gauges there and instruments. And we're going to go increase our thrust into the flex. You'll get man flex, SRS runway, auto thrust blue. Everything is armed the way it should be there. And now we're just maintaining centerline with the rudder. A little bit of corrections, left to right, whatever is required. Would have been 100 knots or an 80 knot call depending on the SOPs. V1, rotate, back on the stick and hold. Positive rate, gear up, pull right into that flight director. And the reason we get departure ready to go is because it kind of gets busy at this phase, so it's a good idea to get departure frequency all stabilized and ready to go. That's a real cat turb if you hear those little sounds. And the turbulence is provided by a real cat turb. Okay, contact departure. We got climb setting there. We're going to reduce our thrust into the climb detent. Throw the autopilot on as well. There we go, climb. And we'll go over to departure. So I'll tell them departure. Departure Delta 2267. And now I'll switch over to departure. Departure Delta 2267, 2,500, climbing 3,000.
Delta 2267, SoCal departure, radar contact. Clear direct NA. Climb and maintain flight level 200.
Clear direct NA, climb maintain flight level 200, Delta 2267. So NA is actually the next waypoint. We're going to go ahead and give us, we're already going there, but we're going to go ahead and give us 20,000 on there. And we'll disarm the spoiler. And we're going to grab our flap here. Flap 0. That departure call, by the way, all you got to say is departure, so-called departure, LA departure, whatever you want. Departure, your call sign, Delta 2267, and then altitude you're currently at, and altitude you're climbing to. In that case, because it was below, but before it was below 3, I said 3. Probably should have said 4, because that's where our clearance was. But so, departure, Delta 2267, 2,500 or whatever it is, climbing 4,000, climbing 5,000, whatever you've been cleared to go up to. Okay, and the flaps are up. It's accelerating to 250 on nicely. It's going to respect that below 12 there. I don't know if Sayintentions actually cares about those restrictions or not. But we'll find out together. Alright, I'm going to go ahead. I don't know what Airbus procedures are, but I'm going to get rid of our lights here just so we get a bit faster. Climb maintain 250.2267. Get ahead of myself there. So 2267, we're unrestricted, which means we don't have to abide by that below 12. So I'm going to go ahead and select open climb. Or better yet, I could probably just get rid of the restriction there. Clear. There we go. Insert. And we'll go back on nav mode, or climb mode. Now, if you're ever in Canada and they give you a climb 250, they still want you to meet the SID or star restrictions. If you're in the States and they give you an altitude, they do not want you to follow the SIDS or star. They want you to just do what they tell you to do. Just kind of makes more sense that way, in my opinion. And we're on the way. So above 10,000, the lights are already out. Pressurization is pressurizing. The radios are good to go, and we'll go ahead and go belts to off. It should be pretty nice and smooth. The next thing we got to do is at 18,000, we'll go to standard on the altimeters, and that's our job done for the next 45 minutes or so, 50 minutes. So we'll see you guys when we get closer to San Francisco. Alright, so we're in mid-cruise here, just coming along, our descent point's coming along, so we're going to start doing some descent planning. And also, we're at, if you remember that little triangle I put up, we're at the top peak of that triangle now. We're with centering, cruise, just hanging out. The next people we're going to contact are multiple different centers. They're going to try to get us a little lower and lower as we go, and then it'll be basically the order we did, but in opposite. So we'll go center, approach or arrival, set of departure, tower, ground, and that's it. So we went clearance, ground, tower, departure, center. Now we're doing center, arrival, tower, ground. So we've been given not for us. We've been given expect Zephyr 4 and descend in 20 minutes or earlier, and I can give them the shout when we want it earlier. We're probably going to do earlier, so let's go ahead and get weather for San Francisco. Now this doesn't count as an ATIS, but this is the best way I found to do it without having ATIS online. So we'll go to ATSU menu, AOC menu, weather, KSFO, I want a METAR, throw it in there, and we'll go return, receive messages. We'll wait for the weather to come back. When we get a little closer, we can get the ATIS, but at least for now we can start planning something. 280 at 12 knots, so probably using the 28s. That makes the runway 28 makes the most sense for that. 280, right? 10 mile viz, scattered 900, temperature 9 over, and a dew point of 7. Altimeter 3017. Let's go ahead and plug 3017 in here. RVSM check is over. Don't need that guy anymore. And we'll leave that up while we go to this side. You probably can't see it, but it is there left on the weather. So we'll go flight plan, destination at the bottom, KSFO, arrival. So how I got here was flight plan, by the way, KSFO, arrival. We're going to choose ILS 28, let's see, most likely 28 right, I'd imagine. And we already have Zephyr 4. So 28 right, Zephyr 4. We'll go ahead and insert that. We're going to go ahead and go to our charts. KSFO, approach. ILS 28 left its plan. So you know what, let's go ahead and trust the Simbreif. We'll reprogram 28 left. Arrival. 28 left. Insert. So 28 left brings us to an ILS minimum decision altitude of 213 feet. Decision height we won't use, only for Cat 2, Cat 3s where you'd use decision heights with the radar altimeter, but for Cat 1 and every other approach other than Cat 2 or Cat 3, it's decision altitude, barometric 213 feet. So FMS, we'll press perf. And we'll press next phase, next phase. Alright, QNH, we put it in there, 3017. Temperature was 9 degrees. Magnetic wind was 280 slash 12 knots. Pretty much down the pipe, that's not bad. The barometric was 213 on the minimum, MDA. And that's considered setup. We'll go back to the flight plan page. And basically when we're going to get close to this top of descent marker, I'm going to request lower. We'll dial in the altitude we're cleared to go down to. And we'll press the altitude button inwards for managed descent. Still got a bit to go. Yes, I forgot to start my clock. In the CRJ, it's automatic. If you set it up properly, it'll start. The clock starts with the wheels up. So I'm just not in the habit of it. But I suppose a bit of terrain around it. Let's go ahead and turn the terrain on navigation on. So we'll get some terrain around us. We've got water to the left, terrain on the right. And we're making some good progress, so I'll see you guys when we're a little closer.
28 left approach to San Francisco via Eddy altimeter 30.12.
Descend via the Surfer 4. Expect the ILS 28 left via Eddy altimeter 3012 Delta 2267. Okay, so we've gotten our descent via the Surfer 4. We're going to get a little closer to our top of descent point. And they want us via Eddy, so we're going to have to change this a little bit. Destination, 28 left, arrival, 28 left. We're going to click this up. 28 left is still there, Surfer 4 is still there. Approach via Eddy. Insert that. We got to go select heading / track first, and then we can insert it. So let's go heading by pulling on the heading knob there. You pull this out to go heading mode. We'll insert it. Then we'll go right back into nav mode. And if you want to see the clearance, this is it here. Let me drag it down if it lets me. Come on, you. There we go. So send via Surfer 4 arrival, ILS 28 left. And via Eddy 3012, we'll go ahead and plug that in here. 301. It's a pretty big difference actually. 3012 is in there for us. So just about to hit our point. We've been given the descend via. My little trick, I don't know if this is what they do real world, but I like to zoom all the way in, and as soon as this arrow hits my 2.5 mile line, I click this knob inwards, push it inwards toward the computer. In is computer takes control, out is I take control, so I want to push in. So here we go, coming up, we're going to push in. I guess I should lower an altitude, shouldn't I? Push in, got descent. Let me get the first altitude, let me get the lowest altitude on this chart here. We're cleared to go all the way down, eh? We'll go 3, let's go to the star here. SFO, arrival, SFO, Eddy 6,000, so we'll go ahead and plug 6,000 feet in there. Alright, 6,000 is set, and we're doing only 1,000 feet per minute right now because it's going to capture the VNAV path, and once it captures the VNAV path, it's going to start steepening the descent for whatever is required. So I find if you do it that way with that 2.5 mile ring, it doesn't stay doing 1,000 feet per minute for a long time, and then you finally catch the path. If you wait till that 2.5 mile, it kind of catches the path right away, and it helps you from clicking it too late and then doing a very steep descent as well. So these are all the constraints. The way I brought these up is pressing this constraint button right up here. Sorry, I don't know if you saw it right there. And it brings all the constraints. So we got, let me go to plan mode. You can see it here. I'll zoom in. Above 20,000 feet, 280 knots. Below 19, above 15, 280 knots. Below 15, above 10, 280 knots. Follett above 8, 240 knots. Eddy 6,400, 240 knots. And then this goes into the approach. Simbreif at above 4,000. He-Man above 3,100. And Duet at 1,800. And that's the final approach fix there. So because we've been cleared the ILS 28 left via Eddy, I'm going to go ahead and set He-Man at 3,100. It's still going to respect the Eddy at 6. But we'll have that for... we'll have all that for later. That's the beauty of descend via. Just go. Don't need the Cat 2 chart saved, just Cat 1. We'll talk about Cat 2 a different day. So this is that He-Man 3,100. Do it at 18. It looks like we'll be capturing actually the glide at 1,800 feet, not 31, so Once we get a bit closer and cleared for the approach, I'll maneuver down to 1800 and then capture the glide slope from there. Standard IFR briefing, if you want to get in the habit of briefing, is basically the first part jumps around a little bit and then after it becomes left to right. So I would say San Francisco, it's the visual approach backed up by the ILS runway 28 left, page 11-2. And the Jefferson chart's the 6th of December 2024. Localizer is 109.55, and we can come down here to the Navigrapgh page, and it's been set 109.55, ISFO, ISFO. Final approach was a 284, due at 1800 feet, no temperature correction required, MDA is 213. Sector altitude, the highest is 5,000, our sector will be 4,500, and that's based off the SFO VOR, which is dead center of the airport there. Ooh, I flipped the chart there. Missed approach is climb to 4,000 feet outbound on the SFO VOR, radial 275, so basically straight ahead almost, a little bit of a turn, but to Ullum, intercept DME of 15.4 SFO and hold, continue climb to 4,000 if you didn't make it there already. So basically straight ahead and then to Ullum and holding at 15.4 there. MD has been discussed, Pappy's on the left, glide slope is at 2.85 glide slope, so a little shallower than a normal 3-degree glide slope. Once we're on the ground, 28 left, planning to exit most likely Delta or Kilo. If we go far, Zulu, but I don't think we'll get to Zulu, but most likely Delta Kilo, which is a hotspot for the crossing. There's no crossing. That's a hotspot if you're landing on 28 right, so we should be okay for that. There is a hotspot if we get taxied down this way. Hotspots are just known for they're signified on the charts as high density traffic areas, a lot of moving airplanes, moving trucks, and that kind of stuff. So those are hotspots. We brief those. In the event of a miss as well, we will have. We'll get the progress page up here. Oh, not that one. I need fuel prediction. So we'll have 6,500 pounds of fuel estimated at San Francisco, and if we have, which leaves us with 3,600 if we go to our alternate. Let's go check our flight plan to see what our minimum fuel. It's 22. Minimum fuel on board is 2206. We're gonna get there if we go. So basically, what this is saying is, if we have to go around, and we're like, do we go to our alternate or do we come back? Well, if we go to our alternate right away and say, you know, we went missed, we're going to the alternate, we'd get there with 3,600 fuel. Our minimum fuel to be at our alternate is 2,200, which means we have about 1,700 pounds of extra gas, which actually kind of makes sense because our contingency here was almost 1,400, so we're doing a little better on fuel. So, and that's all estimated numbers. So basically, if we have to go missed, and it's just maybe due to traffic or, you know, nothing severe like an engine or whatever, we could come back for another try if it's nothing too serious with the weather and or the airport facilities closed or something like that. But if it's just, you know, someone was on the runway for too long, we had to go missed, we can come back for another try because we have an extra 1,500 pounds kind of to play with until we have to go to the alternate, if that makes sense. You can even see here a minimum at San Francisco is 4,500 pounds. So if we're at San Francisco at 6.5, we're good to go. We're going to leave if we reach, once we're at 4,500 pounds at SFO, we're leaving. We're going to go to our alternate. See, this airplane is nicely doing all the descending for us. It's honestly kind of scary. It met that restriction quite well. It's accelerating to 280. It does have to do that part. Unless it's a max 280, which would be kind of strange. No, it says at 280, yeah. So if it's not following what you want, I'm going to pull the speed knob out and dial in 280. And I'm also going to switch ahead to our altimeter setting of 3012. Right, center, left. Alright, I've accelerated to 280 knots now, which is what they want via the star, I mean. And we'll continue on down, planning auto brakes low arrival today. So basically it's straight ahead, tiny bit of a left turn, and then we intercept the ILS. Let's go ahead and get our landing symbology on now. I'm not quite sure when Airbus SOPs dictate to do this. I like to get it done earlier rather than later so I don't forget it. That's my methodology behind that one. Okay, we've just been given a handoff to approach control, which is 120.9. So see how center's gotten us initially started our descent. We got descent via. Now we're going to contact approach and say 16,000, where we were that, descending via, and then the arrival, which in this case is the Surfer 4. Now we're going to say 15.5 or 1,000, 15,000.5, 15,500. 0.5 is technically not legal terminology, but people say it. Approach Delta 2267, 15,300 descending via the Surfer 4 arrival. And then I should have said with tank or with some sort of ATIS. I haven't been able to get it up yet, but. 1.5. Okay, 1.5 is changed. We got that plugged in. 3015, expecting 28 left via Eddy, Delta 2267. Same plan, same story. Going well. And you can see it's doing quite a pretty good job of staying on track here. Its speed control is a little interesting. I might give it a, I shouldn't need it, but I'm going to give it just a little bit of boards out. Spoilers. And we'll start to zoom in this display. The next one's 240 at 8,000. Let's go and give it a bit more. And we're going to help it out. Coming up to that restriction, which is 10,000 below 250 knots. Airplane's starting to increase thrust, which means it thinks it doesn't need a spoiler anymore, so we'll get rid of those. And I'm sure it'll say more drag or something eventually, but we'll see how it handles it. It's going to slow down another 20 knots to not pass the restriction at 10,000. And you're hearing other AI / people on the network as well. You can see it has its slow down command in here. It's going to bring the nose up a little bit, bring the speed back a little bit. Thrust is at idle. Staying pretty well, nicely on the glide. They're on the VNAV path as well, which is looking good. So the next frequency most likely will be tower. I'm going to go ahead and get that ready to go. And tower is 124.0. So you always want to keep ahead of the game. And now that you know the rough structure of the ATC network, some airports do change it around a little bit, but the rough structure that I outlined originally, you can kind of anticipate. Now we're going backwards in order. Center, approach, tower is next, and then ground after tower. So I bet it's going to say drag any money here. It's going to want something from me. because it's having trouble keeping that 240 while staying on that path. We'll see how it does here. Let's do them okay, actually. And notice it's an above 8, so you don't have to be at 8. It's just above 8,000.
The 2267. Descend and maintain 6,000 cleared via Eddy for runway 28 left.
Descend, maintain 6,000 cleared via Eddy for runway 28 left, Delta 2267. So 6,000. That's kind of a weird terminology you just said. Descend 6,000 cleared via Eddy for runway 28 left.
2267 cleared for the ILS runway 28 left approach.
That's what I wanted to hear. Cleared for the ILS 28 left to Delta 2267. So now that we've been cleared for the approach, I can dial in 1,800 feet here, and we'll let the VNAV bring us all the way down to DeWitt, or however you want to pronounce it. It's still going to meet the restriction of 240 at 6, above 4. It should do all that because we're in managed descent mode. Well, we're below 10, so let's do my job here. Let's get the belts on there. I don't know what the landing lights, whatever they do with their procedures on Airbus, but I'll just do what I think they would do. We'll keep it at that. Okay, and the approach has already activated itself. Some people come here and press activate approach. You don't have to do that once you're past the, once you're coming up to the transition from out of the star into the approach. It'll actually activate itself. You can see it already has selected 140 knots here. And so it's going to plan to, should start to bring this vertical speed up a little bit and start to level off because it shouldn't pass Eddy below 6 unless it can just squeeze by, which it looks like it's just going to nicely squeeze by to keep it going down. There's the next one's 3,100 feet. You got to be above 4 here. Now I'm going to pull the vertical speed up just because I want to see. So it's planning to be at DeWitt at 1,800. I'm going to descend a little steeper. And let's go ahead and get our boards out. And you'll notice if I go back to the approach chart, after He-Man, we can go down to 1,800 feet. So what I've done is I've selected a vertical speed, which is that blue line. That gets me 1,800 feet just past He-Man. But we have to pass He-Man at or above 3,100. Alright, we'll go flap 1. I'll set it back in. Looks like the speed's going to work out now. That's what I was kind of worried about. So we'll go back and manage descent mode. You notice the glide slope is up as well. Localizer's there. The glide's alive. We'll go flap 2. And I'm going to hold my speed here at 180. I'm not going to slow down too much out here. We're flap 2, spoilers arm, landing lights on, seatbelts on. Fuel prediction was quite okay. We're at 6.5 now, so we're a bit under the fuel prediction. They said 6.5 at. Oh, my mistake. Speed brake armed. Now it should pop up. There we go. Okay, so we're anticipating, we've been cleared for the approach. We're anticipating a handoff to Tower, and Tower is the one that actually gets us clearance to land. So we've been cleared for the approach. We're on the extended center line here. Let's go ahead and press approach on our FCP. And we're inside 9 miles of SFO, so that's nice. So press approach. Loc, glide slope armed. Localizers captured. That's the lateral portion of the ILS.
Winds 265 at 12. Runway 28 left, cleared to land.
Clear to land, 28 left, Delta 2267. We've been cleared to land. Let's go ahead and get the landing lights on, and the nose light, and the runway turnoffs. And now I'm going to wait for half a dot above the glide slope. I'll grab the gear, and I'll slow down. I'll grab our next speed.
Sierra contact departure on
And we're level at 1800. The missed approach altitude is 4,000 feet. We're in alt. Let's go ahead and set 4,000 feet for the mist. Glide slope star, gear down. I'm going to set manage speed by clicking in the knob. And now it's going to go all the way down to the VREF. And we'll select flap 3. So the gear and the flap are going to help it on its descent to still lose speed. There's 2.8 left in the distance, so you can see it's a nice visual day. Last thing, it flaps to full, and we'll be good to go. Let me go ahead and get my view in the nice spot here. And it doesn't show on your side because I'm using an ultra wide, but maybe I can kind of get it better. There you go. Let's go flap full, and I'm going to lock my office wheelchairs here so I don't move all over the place while I use my rudder. So the gear's down, flaps full, cabin's ready, spoilers armed, lights on. The landing checklist is complete. We've been cleared to land. Before we get going, let's get ground all tuned up, which is 121.6. 21.6. That's ready to go for us later. That's what's coming up next, right? What's coming up next? 1000's checked. Stable. Alright, we'll go ahead and hand fly this. So I'm going to click the red button. You can click it. I have it mapped on my joystick, but if you don't, you can click this twice. Once to turn off autopilot, second time to cancel the warning. So we'll go once and twice. Once, twice. There we go. There's no gust, so there's no need to add any VREF speed. At least that's for the that's the CRJ. I don't know if the Airbus they add it regardless. The RJ we don't add any +5 knots or anything unless there's a gust factor, unless there's some wind we have to add for. If there's no wind, then we don't add anything. Getting a little high. Let's focus on the approach. It's 2.85 glide slope, not a regular 3. So probably about 600 feet a minute should probably maintain it. Correcting localizer.
100 above, 300. Minimum.
Landing. Need some rudder right for the crosswind correction today.
100. 50, 40, 30, 20. Retard. Drive.
Walk the nose down nice and gently. Reversers are idle. We don't need more than idle reverse. Oh, just notice you guys really get to see any of that.
Contact ground on 121.8, no delay.
21.8, Delta 2267. Ground Delta 2267, clear, 28 left. I'm going to stop here, they might want us on this left turn. 21.8. I've been cleared to cross 24 left, that doesn't really make sense. I'll bring the clearance here, I'll ask him. Delta 2267, clear, runway 28 left. Alright. I think this is where the Sayintentions starts to go out a little bit. I'll maybe request taxi to the gate. Ground, Delta 2267, request taxi to the gate. We'll go ahead and start the APU up. We'll clear the flaps up, disarm the spoiler. There you go. Charlie 4 Delta via Echo Alpha Yankee Delta 2267. So that's where I'm saying we got to be a bit more specific with the AI of what you want. So I was saying what we'd say in real life, which is just Echo Alpha Yankee Delta 2267. Echo straight ahead Alpha. And is Yankee to the left, or it's to the left? Alright. Alright, we're nice here, safe at the gate. Okay, Charlie 4. in San Francisco. I hope you guys enjoyed that video. That's basically full ATC with some edits just to keep it going a bit quicker for you guys. And yeah, so if you like everything, press the like button. If you learned anything or will get Sayintentions, please leave a comment down below of what you learned or what you saw or liked. And if you do get Sayintentions, please use the link down in the description. That really does help the channel, so I will provide a link there for you. Get Simbreif, get Navigrapgh. Sayintentions is an awesome tool to learn how to fly / talk to ATC controllers before you go on vatsim, or even before you go in real life. It's good to just practice it as well. So do try at least one of these softwares. Sayintentions, Beyond ATC, vatsim, anything that can help you out is what you're going to want to use. And lastly, subscribe for more if you want more. So thank you for watching, guys. I'll see you in the next one.